Hello, everybody. I'm Scott, and I'm with Suffolk University in Boston. I am a current MBA student, and I'm also the admissions counselor for the MBA program. So please use me as a resource, and I'll give you my email later on. So next slide, please. Yes, so this is me. Again, there's my email, scarlson2@suffolk.edu. So I focus, my regions are actually China and all the nations of Africa. I've been with Suffolk for 2 years, and again, I love helping international students, so please use me as a resource. Next slide. So some quick facts about Suffolk University. We were founded in 1906. We are a private university. We are right in downtown Boston. And we are relatively small in terms of our graduate enrollment. You can see we have about 1,200 students. And we also, you can see, have a high amount of international students as well. So 25% in the MBA program, it's about 30%, with the plurality of those from China, actually. So you will not be alone should you choose to enroll. And when it comes to our faculty, in the business school, over 50% are international. So we really keep a international focus with our education. Next slide, please. So our accreditation, I think the most important one to note is the Aacsb Accreditation. This is a big one for schools that, as I was just mentioning, prepare students for an international business career experience understanding. So keep an eye out for that. We also have other accreditations depending on the program. And you can see our rankings and recognitions on the right-hand side there. Next slide, please. So just so you have an idea as to where we are, Boston is up here in the top right portion of the United States, so it does get somewhat cold, but it's beautiful when the snow falls as well. So next slide. So zooming in a little bit, you can see Boston here again, with New York City just about 4 or 5 hours to the south, and then just off the map is Washington, D.C. So, you know, a skip and a hop and a jump away, and we'll get to why that's important. Next slide, please. All right, so we zoomed in again, and this is actually downtown Boston. So every little yellow dot is one of our campus buildings. So you can see, and this is downtown Boston. So this is the Boston Common. This is downtown Crossing, where the big black tall building is, which is sort of the epicenter of the city. And then you can see the financial district right there as well. So having the financial district so close, many students, many part-time students come to Suffolk to complete their masters. They're already mid-level managers at some of these large financial institutions, but they've hit their ceiling. So being in class with those students is super helpful, both in terms of networking and getting, just learning from them as well. So we have a decent amount of part-time students that are really good for network building and just understanding how things actually get done. Next slide, please. So Suffolk's sort of 3 pillars of education are experiential learning, and we do that through flash consultancy projects. So just about every business school course has a flash consultancy aspect to it. So you work with real life clients in the city, Reebok, different marketing agencies, things like that. Additionally, we have a lot of internships and practicum sites. And being right in the middle of the city, these are often very advantageous for students when it comes to their outcomes, which I'll get to in a minute as well. So global in scope is the second pillar, which I spoke a little bit about in terms of our student body and our accreditation and faculty members. But having I can say for myself, being in class with people from all over the world, keep in mind that is incredibly valuable. I know I've learned a lot from just by virtue of them coming from a different culture, other students. So at Suffolk, you would get a lot of that cross-cultural exposure that would really prepare you for a career in international business or politics. And outcome-based. So as you saw, we have about 1,200 graduate students. In the MBA program, there's about 150 to 250 at any time. So these are small programs. They really allow you to focus or allow the faculty to focus on you and what your plans are, as well as all of our infrastructure for career services, international student support, things like that, really lend to better outcomes for students. Next slide, please. So a little bit about Boston and our business clusters. So we are very big in finance, healthcare, and technology, and then the intersection of sort of all of those. So financial technology and biotech are also booming in Boston. If your area of interest is in any of these areas, you would be well suited to be in Boston and learn from some of the startups, some of the big firms that have been around for a while, and possibly do an internship with them. Next slide, please. So here is a preview of our programs. On the left-hand side, we have the business school programs, and on the right-hand side, we have the College of Arts and Sciences programs. There are many, and we also have a lot of dual degree programs, which I believe I will get to next, that allow students to take advantage of our STEM designated programs. Next slide, please. So here are our dual degree options. The MSBA, MSF, and MSM, along with the MBA, are all STEM designated. These allow you to study, or rather to stay in the US on your visa for an additional 2 years of OPT. And the way that we structure our dual degrees with the MBA is that they only add a semester of study. So that's often advantageous for a lot of students if it's in your functional area. Next slide, please. So the Suffolk MBA, briefly, it's 14 to 20 courses depending on your background. We have many concentrations available, including financial technology, as I just talked about, corporate finance, creative disruption, entrepreneurship is a big program at Suffolk. And forensic accounting is very big. We have the only Master of Science in Taxation in Boston. So that is a very popular option as well. Next slide, please. We also have travel seminars built into our MBA. So going to London for finance, Germany for general consultancy projects or management, Las Vegas for trade shows, for marketing, Silicon Valley for financial technology. So you go over for a week with your faculty and other students, and you really get your hands dirty. Next slide, please. So financial aid, we treat international students the same as domestic in terms of merit aid. So you do not have to apply separately in your admission or in your decision letter. If you're admitted, you will receive your financial aid package. These packages can reach up to 50% off of tuition, so they can make a big difference for students. And you will be assigned a dedicated financial aid counselor. Next slide, please. So just wrapping up, again, we're right in the middle of Boston. You want to be in the middle of a city for your graduate education. You want access to all of these resources, all this social capital, all this intellectual capital. And also it's just fun. You can see once we open up again, there will be a lot to do. Plenty of parks, museums, music venues, lots of good food. So I encourage everybody to take a look at Boston and then also take a look at Suffolk. Because again, we are right sort of woven into the fabric of Boston right in downtown, and it provides a nice experience. Next slide, please. All right, so I will wrap up there. Yeah, I'm happy to issue an application fee waiver for attending this session. All you have to do is just email me, or Nicole can also give you that. So yeah, thank you. I will now open it up to questions.
Okay, thanks for your great sharing. That's awesome. And right now we're gonna jump right into the Q&A session. Already have students ask questions here, and she or he wants to know where does it go after graduating from MBA program, especially like Chinese international students?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of our MBA students end up at one of the firms in the city, one of the 4 big accountancy firms, a financial firm. Also, a lot of students end up at startups as well, if it works out for their situation. But a lot of students stick around for at least a year, Chinese students specifically, to do their OPT. And then I'd say about 50-50 in terms of some of them go back to China, and then some of them end up getting a job and staying in Boston specifically, because we do have a pretty robust Chinese population here as well. So, a lot of students end up staying, which I think is great and nice in terms of having an alumni base close by if you want to stay in the United States.
Okay, and we have so many students ask questions. They're so interested about our school, and I'm gonna pick one. Is Suffolk currently doing online classes or in-person classes?
Great question. We are currently fully online and will be mostly online in the spring as well. So we have had to be quite careful being in the middle of a city. With COVID. So yeah, we are currently doing fully online with only some international students living on campus, just so that they were allowed to stay within their visa requirements. But moving forward, hopefully next fall, we will be back in person. I'm expecting to be, because it's a big staple of a Suffolk education, is being together, building community in the classroom, networking, collaboratively working. So as soon as we can get back on campus, we will be.
Okay, so the last question will be, what gives schools in urban setting an advantage? Yeah.
Yes, so schools in an urban setting, Boston, San Francisco, San Diego, as you just saw, these schools are able to offer more resources in terms of networking, that social capital that I was talking about, that you want access to, and also real capital. Boston has a lot of, money ready to be invested. So having access to that right across, 20 minutes away, is really advantageous. And then also just diversity many schools in rural settings are less diverse. And you really want to prepare yourself to work with different populations, regardless of the industry that you're going to be working in.
Cool. Thanks for all your answers, Scott. So that will be all for you sessions. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.